So we've penciled in around a 10% contraction in house prices over 2022, but I would say it's very, very uncertain. There are so many forces pushing and pulling in the market. It's actually one of the more difficult parts of the economy to forecast. So what I would say is when the housing market does turn a corner, it does tend to gather momentum in one direction or the other, and now it's looking southbound. So the most vulnerable in any market are always going to be those with the highest debt levels, and then those who have the highest income risk. So if we're thinking about the first, higher debt levels, well, that's naturally your recent first home buyer. We know house prices have accelerated at such a pace that people have had to get relatively large mortgages to purchase those houses. So you know that's a long-lasting debt legacy there for those households. They haven't had an opportunity yet to start hacking away at that principal. Look, this is more of a broad economic risk that we're seeing. The broader economy is slowing. The labour market currently is very, very tight, of course, but there is a risk that that does loosen up as interest rates rise and all this rapid inflation erodes household incomes, for example. All the geographic regions that we do monitor, they've all very much displayed similar characteristics on the upswing of this housing cycle. So that's a very, very rapid, broad-based house price cycle over the past 18 months or so. So what that suggests is that there really isn't any region in New Zealand that isn't vulnerable right now of a bit of a correction. Of course, different regions go through the house price cycle at slightly different times. For example, Auckland often leads the market, and maybe Whanganui is a little bit behind but has had a much faster or more rapid increase. But nonetheless, it's quite broad-based out there. So the risks are broad-based across the entire country. Top of my list for things to monitor right now, and of course there are a lot of things to monitor, but I think insofar as housing is concerned, inflation is a big one. So at the moment, inflation is threatening to breach 7% year on year, and the Reserve Bank is not going to feel comfortable with that. The big risk for the economy is that inflation spirals out of control. So high inflation tends to breed high inflation as it starts to influence wage and price setting behaviour. Now, if that was to allow to happen, then the Reserve Bank is going to face an even tougher time to rein in inflation in the future. So what we're expecting is the Reserve Bank to currently be quite aggressive with some 50 basis point hikes in the very near term, just to try and stomp this or pat this inflation surge sort of down before it gets out of control. You know, it might feel like tough love in a way, but if they don't deliver aggressive hikes now, inflation might be even stronger further down the track, and they might have to hike interest rates by even more than we expect.